Hello and welcome to the first Conversations in the Field. I'm Melinda Hare and I'm the Education Outreach Coordinator with the Edisto Island Open Land Trust. We're here today on 157 acres of land that's protected by the Low Country Land Trust. And we're very fortunate today. We have our very first guest for Conversations in the Field. Harleston Towles is the proprietor of Rooting Down Farms, a wonderful, beautiful 6-acre farm here. And he is also the purveyor of the famous 20 bag of veggie goodness that many of you enjoy every week. So welcome, Harleston. We are super excited to have you talk about this beautiful place. And I know you've had this in your blood for a while now. So what is organic farming to you and how'd you get started out here?
Yeah, well, it kind of skipped a generation for me. My dad grew up around it on Young's Island, mixed vegetables, but very large scale commodity size farming. He sold insurance and I picked it up in college. Just it was at the height of the Eat Local movement. I was actually a business major at Carolina, and sustainability was a big initiative in the marketing department actually. So it seemed like actually a decent time for small-scale agriculture to make a comeback, and I think it has. So anyways, I started out my work at Rosebank Farms on Johns Island, and learned from the masters that are Side-Eyed Limehouse and Louise Bennett, just fantastic agriculturalists and marketers of beautiful produce. So that's the foundation of my experience, and I'm very thankful for it. Learned a lot through them and got my hiney handed to me in a good way, though. I learned how to work, and I wish more people could experience that, and maybe future generations will. We'd like to be a part of that maybe too.
That sounds great, and you've just done a great job in a small time. One of the things that I've noticed, Harleston, on a couple visits out here is that you have white plastic and you have black plastic, and you don't have a whole lot of weeds. And how does that factor into the type of farming that you do, and how is it advantageous to your plants, and is it seasonal?
It is seasonal, and we're not a farm of plastic. I don't want people to think that. It's sort of a necessary evil, at least at this stage in the game. This plastic mulch has been used by farmers for, I would guess it's probably been around for 100 years at this point, maybe a little less, but it conserves soil moisture. It obviously keeps the weeds down. You can place your irrigation beneath it, and run fertilizers, organic, through that. But it also keeps the soil splash off of the plants and the product, which in turn it decreases the chances of disease on the plant. That there's a bunch of funguses and soil-borne diseases that could splash up from rain. So the plastic actually, when the rain hits it, it just runs off. There's no soil splash. In turn, maybe decreasing your reliance on harmful or fungicides in general, even the organic fungicides. Less inputs, and a cleaner product. Keeps the soil splash off the product too as it's fruiting or producing. So that's nice. We are looking at recycling efforts on this kind of stuff in the future. It is on our mind. I don't love it, but like I said, it's sort of a necessary evil at this point. To answer your question on the seasonality of it, we've got cucumbers and squash and basil here, all warm season crops. We're just getting into May. It's still a little cool, but these plants, of course, have been in the ground for several weeks now. You're thinking early April, still a little cool out, soil's still a little cool. So this black plastic, when the sun hits it, it warms the soil, can give you a little jump on the season, increases the soil temperature and the vigor of the plants. So we've got black plastic here. I think we may pan over there. We've got cool season crops and kale, broccoli, collards, etc. that need a cooler soil temperature as you're going into May and even June. The white reflects the sun and will keep the soil a little cooler versus the black that is absorbing it and warming the soil. So that's kind of our way to push crops into one season or another.
And there's this whole movement about eating around the seasons as well.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of eating seasonally. I think there's certain nutrients that you need from certain plants at different times of the year. You think your greens, for example, in the wintertime, you're getting that necessary iron from greens and roots. A lot of your roots are coming out of the ground in December, January, and stuff like that. Iron. What else? You may want to edit this section. And I don't know. There's that's the science. The science I haven't delved real deep into, but the peppers, the tomatoes. The tomatoes have that lycopene and the acids that I think you need more so in the summer.
Right.
So do we really need to be eating tomatoes in January? Is that natural?
Right.
This business of shipping food across the country, or from Florida to New York, is that natural? I don't know. I wouldn't think so. There's plenty of food around here all year long.
Exactly.
I don't think it's for our body's sake. I don't think, and maybe the environment's safe as far as moving this product such long distances.
There's a real big carbon footprint for a lot of what we eat in this country, and I'm sure other countries as well. But that's the appeal of this, is to be able to eat locally and eat with a sense of place. And I think more and more people are kind of getting on board with that. And even this summer, we're seeing a lot more people put their own vegetable gardens in. So that's kind of a nice thing. But what you do for this community and for this island, and again, you reach far and wide in Charleston. You have been supplying restaurants all around the Charleston area now for a while. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's see, we've been in it now on our own for 6 years. And really the restaurants, they gave us a great start. A lot of gratitude for them. We were, before the coronavirus, we were dealing with 15 restaurants on a weekly basis, and now we aren't dealing really with any. Mm-hmm. We've got some guys that are picking up some stuff here and there,
right?
But it's mostly switched to residential and the 20 bag, mm-hmm. Which we're very happy about. I find a lot of joy in putting food on people's home tables. That's a pretty neat connection.
Well, it's a big deal at our house. We cook a lot, and we take photos of our food, and it's just a big deal because it is so beautiful and it's such a great product. And when you've talked to us before about things like variety of what you plant and the diversification of what you plant, because that has a lot to do with how robust plants are and your rotation in that.
Yeah, sure. We actually deal with some bit of nematode pressure on this land, which is a soil-borne insect. It can affect everything from carrots to tomatoes. And if we plant carrots on carrots after season after season, you'll start to notice more galling on the roots. Just makes the product, it can make the plant unviable, and even if it makes a root, it can have galls all over it. It's not really marketable. So we rotate for insect purposes, disease pressure. You can build up disease if you're planting the same thing on the same land each season, so we do it for that too. And we plant a lot of different stuff. We probably got upwards of 40 different things growing at one time, just so that when one fails, hopefully we've got another to back it up. And two, this may be a perfect time to revisit this sort of monoculture type of agriculture. During the coronavirus, the larger sized farms, in some cases that are only growing one thing for food service, it was the case down in Florida and certainly around here too. They're having to plow stuff under. I mean, millions of dollars
Right.
worth of crops. In some cases, the diversification we've got here, there's so many different things that residents can buy, whereas the Charleston population can't buy 10 or 20 acres of tomatoes.
Right.
Or from one person. Maybe they could, but 30 and 50 acres, that would be a little tough. So 6 acres, 40 different things. We're very blessed to say that it's pretty much all sold.
Wow, that's impressive. And that's one of the things that makes people come back for that 20 bag every week. That is a super business model, for getting your product out there. And the other thing that I think is so interesting, and I know it's necessary for whether it's your backyard garden or an operation this size, or pollinators, when we walk your rows, we see ladybugs, we see all kinds of different insects. We see, then at the ends of rows, we see flowering plants that I know are there for a reason. Why do you do that? And I mean, that has to impact what you plant in that row?
Sure. We'll plant sweet alyssum at the ends, in the quarters, in the middle of the field, and beyond, to attract beneficial insects, pollinators, ladybugs. These are all things that can increase the production of your plant, but also maybe leave you with less reliance on pesticides. And conventional farmers do this too, so it's not just an organic thing. You're working with nature versus against it. Mm-hmm. And you're bringing in these pollinators and predatory insects that are going to do a number on the harmful ones. So that's sort of the mentality there. We plant flowers in our drive rows and our harvest rows that's sort of wasted space, more or less anyways. They've got to drive through someplace, but why not put some flowers there? So we do that to really draw in all those folks.
Well, obviously, all of this is a big science project, but you know what you're doing with this science project,
well,
and you've had some great results.
We're learning every day. I should mention that.
It's very, very impressive. And I don't know if you want to mention regenerative farming a little bit, because it does have such an impact on the carbon that's contained in the soil, or just a brief explanation. There is a concept out there called regenerative agriculture, and it's very, very important, I think, to the planet and the health of the planet and our health as well. And I know that you look at that science too as you work this farm.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that conventional farms could adopt forms of regenerative agriculture too, in the form of cover crops. A lot of them do already apply compost to their farms anyways. Mm-hmm. Generally, I think the concept centers around organic fertilizers and inputs, so that's a kicker there. But the overall philosophy, I guess, is that you leave the land in a better place than you found it, and that's always really on our mind. When you plant a crop, you're taking each and every season. The plants are drawing nutrients out of the soil. So at the end of the season, we do our best to replenish and replace those lost or taken nutrients and we do that in the form of compost over the whole field. That's an acre's worth, and we'll do 2 or 3 acres at a time. But that increases our organic matter content and prevents soil erosion, and overall just maintains that soil health that we're constantly concerned with. That is the ingredient that is supplying your plants with that necessary vigor to sustain a crop season and produce for a while, versus these quick harvests. So yeah, it's very important, the regenerative agriculture. It's just kind of coming down the line now, but we try to stay on top of those, sort of cutting edge movements in the industry, and sometimes they're worth a darn, sometimes they aren't. But
right.
I think this is a good one to follow.
Well, I think you've got the secret to success. As we look across the fields today, we're really thankful that we have Harleston as and steward of Edisto Island and of this land, and we're all very fortunate that you're here. And we
Glad
get that
to be here.
We get that fortunate in the 20 bag every week. So thanks for joining us for our first conversations in the field, and we'll see you next time.
Cool. That was pretty good.